And one. Cambridge Insider podcast time. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode. It's the Cambridge Insider podcast. Spring is upon us. And with spring, some good news, but we'll get into that in just a moment. My co-host, Leanna Glass, how are you?
I'm doing well, Stephen. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. New Jersey's beautiful this afternoon. A little windy, but, the weather's improving. How's Philadelphia?
Philadelphia is great. Sunny, about 70 degrees. Spring is definitely upon us. And we're approaching the end of the school year. I think most of my programs have maybe 4 or 5 weeks left in the school year. So we're just chugging through this last bit and for summer.
Exactly. I think it's a good opportunity to give a shout out to all of the school officials, administrators, and teachers. It's been a heck of a ride, and I know they will all enjoy a very well-deserved break come the summer. So push through these last couple of weeks. We certainly from Cambridge's side, but everybody I think across the country appreciates everything that you guys do. It's been a tough year, but you've done excellently.
Yes, we're almost at a much-deserved break for students and teachers, school officials, everyone. We've all worked very hard through this challenging school year.
Exactly. I didn't mean to minimize what you've done and what I've done, but speaking specifically to the teachers. All right.
We're ready for some beach days too.
We are. That's correct. Moving on. Some great news coming from the FDA in the US. Leanna, do you want to introduce, just the new announcement that was made, I believe, this week?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've taken a huge step here. The FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, has authorized the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine for emergency use in 12 to 15-year-olds. So this is going to be critical action in the fight against the pandemic. And 12 to 15-year-olds is awesome. That's so many of our high school students. So we are certainly seeing the light at the end of this tunnel. This is great news this week.
Absolutely. Like you say, so many of our high school students prior to this, the Pfizer vaccine, I believe, was from 16 years and up. So now this covers, the sort of the next segment of that school population that's so very important to us. And I think ultimately just allows us to get schools reopened back in person, the learning that we all believe in, the structure that we all believe in. I think that sense of community that our students want. So it's such an important part of the puzzle. Again, we keep, bringing in new parts of this, and there's new milestones that we reach every single day. But this is really awesome news across the board. Leanna, from your side, in terms of, obviously you're an SDM working with schools, what has been, just before we get into a little bit of the nitty gritty, what has been the schools that you work with, at least, what has been the reaction with regards to vaccinations being approved, with regards to students being allowed to get vaccinated? Has that been seen as a positive thing amongst US high schools?
Yes, absolutely. And it's been so positive and powerful to see how schools, specifically in my area, have really stepped up to get students the information they need to get vaccinated, to make appointments. Some of my programs have sent out links, sent out partnerships with community organizations who are helping students and even their families and siblings get vaccinated. So I think this is imperative in sort of taking this next step towards battling the pandemic. Is we just need people to get vaccinated. As you said, it's a huge piece of the puzzle, and schools and our school partners can be a huge part in making that happen by getting our students that critical information, where to go, how to make an appointment, why it's important, how it will shape the future of what school looks like for them. So we've really seen schools stepping up.
Absolutely. This is in addition to what you've said there, and in addition to the obvious sort of safety and precautionary side of things, which is so important, but this is a huge marketing and admissions and recruitment tool for schools, because this allows us to talk to the safety of the classroom. This allows us to talk to in-person learning. This allows us to talk to that American dream, being in person, realizing the American culture, which is a big part of what we sell as an organization and you as a school partner. So, I think we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that on the admissions standpoint, this is really important. I do want to touch on what Leanna said there with regards to schools and the role that they can play. And I want to specifically just sort of stop at the communication and how schools should and can be communicating this great news, not only domestically, but internationally. So Leanna, you mentioned that some schools have been helping, students with community links and links to set up for vaccinations and information. Has that been typically something in your eyes that you've seen go out just as a domestic communication?
Yes, so generally that's going to domestic students' emails and their parents. And then at Cambridge Network, we're working hard to get that information over to natural parents of our international students and make sure that they have all the information they need to say to us, hey, can you help our student set up an appointment too? So we will do our best on our end to get that information from the school, send it over to natural parents, and get their approval for our international students to get vaccinated as well.
Okay, that's awesome. So it's not just about actually physically getting shots in arms, but it is just about communicating that these shots are available. The school, Cambridge, we can help you coordinate getting those shots, setting up those appointments. I think it's important that you mentioned that, it is very much a domestic rollout at this stage, and we sort of forgive schools because this is a brand new thing that's happened. But I think we do need to emphasize and strongly suggest that schools put out a international specific communication to their international parents and students to say, number one, this has been authorized by the FDA. Students are able to get the shot. The school can help, Cambridge can help in getting that shot. And I think a mention from the school side as well about what this does for the safety of the classroom, what this does for the fall 2021 season, something that a lot of parents are still unsure of. So I think those are 3 or 4 things that if you are putting a communication out there specifically to international students, touch on those points, touch on the fact that this is going to make the classroom safer. I've had several students and agencies and families reach out and say, we're still a little bit unsure. But this should be something that is a great motivator for parents who are on the sort of the fence to send their kids across and understand that it has great implications for safety and for in-person learning again.
Right. And you can also include, it's 2 doses, it's 3 weeks apart between shots. It's the exact same vaccine that the adults 16 and older have been receiving. There's no cost to international students, and everyone is now eligible. So definitely promote this to the international students and their families to let them know their options.
Absolutely. And if you have a couple of minutes as the year winds down and you perhaps want to put out a little video communication, that would also be something great. We can get our translation team on that. If you want to put a little video, a little marketing admissions video together to say this has been authorized, we're helping in the community to make sure students have access to scheduling vaccines. It's never a bad idea. And I advise and suggest to all of our school partners, reach out to your Cambridge network team members. If you're unsure about what to put in communication, and make sure that we get that communication and we can communicate it effectively to our teams abroad. Leanna, just one more thing that I want to mention in this podcast episode, but anything final that you want to say about the authorization? Great news all around, but anything final that you want to add?
Well, I think it's just worth mentioning that this announcement comes in time for the summer. It especially comes in time for fall 2021 for the school year to start. But in regards to summer, international students could even be enrolling in summer camps and summer activities to get enrolled in just in these next couple months. And with Cambridge Homestay being available this summer too, this could really have a huge effect on the summer experience that our students have. And then for the fall, I think it's also worth mentioning that with the national interest exemptions, students can start arriving as early as August 1st and 30 days before your program start date. So with that in mind, theoretically, you could have your both your vaccine shots before the first day of school for the fall. So this is huge to remind parents and students going into the school year about how safe it will be to return. For the summer, you could be vaccinated, and especially for the fall. So very good news.
Absolutely. Very important point that you make there. I think the fact that students technically could get both shots in the arms, be fully vaccinated by the time they sit for their first in-person class is huge news. So something important, and again, probably something you should be adding into your corporate communication. Be sure to reach out, be sure to communicate this specifically aimed and targeted towards your international parents and students abroad. One final thing that I do think is important for us to mention in this episode, because it's a good news episode, but it's part of us suggesting and urging our schools to communicate and to use this good news to ride this wave, to continue communicating and making sure that parents are aware of what the expectations are, what is happening on the ground. I do want to make a specific mention to I-20s. This is something that, and I'm sure, Leanna, I know you've been a big part of that communication as well. We've seen just a lot of communication around I-20s. There's been, for lack of a better word, a lot of confusion around, specifically with, students being outside of the country for X amount of months and what that means for the status of the I-20. And really, I just want to urge our schools, if there is a request for either an updated I-20 or a new I-20 to be issued, or there's communication about what the status is of an I-20, be sure to make that a priority. Be sure to communicate effectively with our Cambridge team. I think this is a twofold focus of ours. Number one, we want to make sure that we can get students to be able to take these visa interviews. So, a lot of them wait on the I-20s to be able to schedule visa interviews. We're certainly with the visa scheduling still being backed up a little bit, we don't want to delay them even further. We want to give them everything they can so that they can make those appointments as soon as possible. I think the second part of this, which is just as important, is showing that buy-in to the students, showing them that you're committed to having them, by that turnaround time, by not having them wait, by not having them sit thousands of miles away and wondering, why am I waiting a week for the school to get back to me on a question about my I-20? Am I not important enough for them? So really, schools, let's ride this good wave of all this new FDA information and the vaccinations that are picking up. Alongside that, let's focus on the communication that's going on and make sure that we can provide our students with the valuable I-20 support that they need.
Yep, I can't emphasize that enough, Stephen, because we have all these doors opening with the vaccinations, we have the travel, we have all these doors opening, and the last thing we need is for the I-20 confusion to be a barrier here. Exactly. So get ahead of that confusion as much as you can. The sooner you reach out to a representative to get answers to those questions, the better.
Exactly. And if you're unsure as a school partner, yes, you can reach out to Cambridge, but we always advise reach out to your CVIS rep. They're the experts. They're going to tell you exactly how the process has changed, how it stayed the same, and what communication needs to be going on to our international family abroad. Leanna Glass, great episode. I'm always happy when we're giving good news in an episode, because it's been a year of sometimes doomy, gloomy type of podcast episodes, not because of who we are as people, but just because of that's where the industry was. We're clawing our way out every single day.
There's been a lot of waiting around for the good news, and we're here. And I think in the last 2 or 3 episodes, we've had lots of good news to share. So it is a positive time.
Exactly. I appreciate you co-hosting as always. To all of our listeners, remember to like, subscribe, share the podcast, drop us some fan mail, or just questions in general. Doesn't have to be fan mail. As always, Executive Producer Dean is going to put all of the articles referenced, specifically the link to the FDA announcement, he'll put in the show notes. To all of the listeners, thank you, and we'll catch you around the next episode. Bye-bye, everybody.